The following video will contain spoilers for Rings of Power Season 1.
Your discretion is advised.
The Jedi Knights are all but destroyed, and yet your task is not complete, Inquisitor. The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in today for episode 109 of the Podwans Podcast. I'm your host, Char J, joined by Jedi Master Eggs and Hereth Productions. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff because we have a guest on today that specializes in Tolkien lore.
This has been 2 years in the making, ladies and gentlemen.
So let's bring in the Lord of the Rings guy himself, Donmarshall.
Hey,
Don,
what's up?
it's been like you have been my Moby Dick.
Oh, I'm your white whale, which is so weird because technically I'm mixed. You just can't tell because of everything. Yeah, fun fact, my father was born in Haiti. I should look way tanner, but no, I don't.
You are literally Alexander Hamilton. That makes so much more sense now.
You know, get me 45 minutes into this podcast and I'll wrap my shot, then we'll see how I go.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a good episode.
Where do you want to start? I'm an open book.
My first question, Don. We know you as the Lord of the Rings guy. What's the story? Where did the passion for this universe come from?
Well, I was conceived New Year's Eve 19. Do you want me to go a little further than that?
Okay. We could go to
Okay,
when you were actually able to read,
alive, conscious.
Yeah.
Well, my first grade teacher's name was, actually it was my kindergarten teacher that taught me how to read. And so I picked up the Silmarillion and I said, this is easy. Best part about this too is that I know the people in my own audience is they've heard this story before. So I always love adding in just these little bits of extra stuff that just doesn't exist anywhere else. So it changes every time, really. But no, I got into Lord of the Rings a very different way than most others, which I'm curious to see if any of you have that with Star Wars, because my mom read the books to me, but I didn't actually read the books. She would read them, and then because they were a little older and sort of boring and I was 9 or 10, she would summarize them to my sister and I the next morning at the breakfast table. So I would be there just kind of hanging out, eating my cereal and being like, hey, this is cool. And so once she was done sort of telling me the whole story when she had finished the book, she's like, you're not going to believe this, there's movies. And so I watched the movies and I just become obsessed with the whole Tolkien universe to the point where I don't really ever stop having that be my hyper fixation for 20 plus years. And then I got drunk on Thanksgiving 3 years ago, started a TikTok account, and the rest is history, I suppose.
Thanksgiving. What a great time to start a TikTok account.
No, it felt right. It was 8 months into the pandemic and I was working in journalism, which I was very proud of. I'm using my college degree. But then I left and I was like, oh, there's no creative outlet for me to tell stories. And then I got drunk and told stories.
I just imagine you saying grace drunkily and then going into Lord of the Rings facts, just
Your Aunt Betty's like, Dawn, not again.
It's kind of gotten to the point now where various family and friend gatherings are like, hey, did you know Dawn actually he's got a little thing going on there, he's got some followers on that what's that thing you over there? It's TikTok. Uncle Rupert. I don't actually have an Uncle Rupert. Full disclosure, haven't been to a family gathering in months. It's just we've all moved our separate locations and now it's just hey, how's that thing going? Still getting weirdly invited to places and brands keep wanting to interact with me, which is weird. It's still weird. I don't know if I've made that clear across the entirety of my whole interaction with people, but I still suffer from that imposter syndrome of I don't deserve this. I'm just a dude. I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy. But it helps. It helps to hang out with cool people and make cool stuff like this. So
no, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
I was gonna say we usually do this for Star Wars content creators, but since we're doing Lord of the Rings, I can also kind of spin it into Lord of the Rings. Because you talked about obviously as a kid, your parents read you Lord of the Rings, but what was your real moment that you knew that as a content creator that you were really deep into the Lord of the Rings community? Oh my god, I'm here, the I'm here moment. Because for us, it was Star Wars Celebration or meeting everybody in person. What was the oh my god, I'm really in this fandom moment?
Oh man, great question. I'll give you this for free. It's a very embarrassing story. I have told it before, but I try not to make myself look as bad as I do. So as I've mentioned before, I work with some brands, and I don't necessarily know if it was a fandom moment because it was a little bit more like corporate brand dealy thing. So Amazon had me out for an event in May of last year for the Rings of Power. And that was a cool moment. I don't want to discourage it. Like, we were in London, we were, able to see a couple of minutes. We saw the trailer, we saw some footage. It was really great stuff. But the thing that made me sort of feel in the moment was after all of that had happened, we went out to a bar across the street and there were like 20 of us. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing Do Betta. There's Silmer Emily, there's Annex Wilson. And then we were fortunate enough, one of our friends, Maisie Williams, Maisie Matilda.
I was about to say, I was like, Arya.
Yeah, no. Oh God, I wish.
Arya showed up and goes, "You want to play a game of faces?"
So Sophie Turner and her walk in, and it's like, no, I'm kidding. But no, my dear friend Maisie Matilda, who, if she ever listens to this podcast, is gonna never let me hear the end of it. She's a 4-edge painter. She does, nerdy 4-edge book paintings, and I had known her for years, but I had never met her in person. And so I'm sitting there with these 4 TikTok mutuals, and I'm looking around, and there's Corey Olsen, the Tolkien professor, the guy who has more or less created the sort of modern Tolkien fandom that crossed the sort of academic path into, I'm kind of a nerd on the internet. There's Alan from the Prancing Pony podcast. There's Justin, who runs theonering.net, the website I spent most of my formative childhood years on in forums, just like lurking, trying to talk to people about this thing that no one in my grade school thought was cool. So like seeing all of those people like really validating experiences of like, oh, I'm in it.
And now I'm going to let my other 2 co-hosts bombard you with Lord of the Rings questions. But before that, I have one more question. What is the most obscure Lord of the Rings fact that you have been told?
Oh, that I have been told. So this would have been a very different answer before a couple of weeks ago, because I discovered that there is actually a name for the telepathic ability for elves to speak with each other in their heads, like Galadriel does to Elrond in the movie. It's called Osanwe, and it's canon. And I didn't know that until I was on the other Lord of the Rings podcast, the Prancing Pony podcast, and the co-host there, Alan, was like, oh yeah, it's a real thing. I'm like, how do I not know? Like, telepathy feels like something I should be locked in on as far as like superpowers of elves go. Had no idea it had a canon name. I was just like, yeah, they just have walkie-talkies in their heads. So Osanwe, one of the most obscure Lord of the Rings facts.
I didn't know that.
And now you do.
Where is it in which text?
Oh God, you know what? Off the top of my head, I don't. But I will go on Tolkien Gateway in 15 seconds. If you currently found in the Lord of the Rings words, phrases, and passages in various tongues, and the Nature of Middle Earth Part 2,
Nature.
Body, Mind,
Okay.
and Spirit. So
Okay,
that feels yeah.
very, very where it should be.
Yes,
that second one.
For those unaware, the Nature of Middle Earth is a lot like, those Star Wars encyclopedias you see at like Barnes and Noble and stuff that have like every obscure. You have one within arm's reach, don't you? Yeah, of course you do.
And everything timeline. Can you imagine that if there was a timeline book for Lord of the Rings?
It'd make my job so much easier. Oh my God, it would make my job. And don't get me wrong, there are some. They're just not everything. There's like 500-year time skips in a single paragraph in some parts of the Silmarillion. So like, I don't have time for that. Oh yeah.
All right, here we go. Start asking your questions, boys. Let's go.
I just love how we covered the whole spectrum here. We got like the super expert with Don, and then we got like the kind of expert with Luke, and the intermediate, and then me being the casual over here.
And I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, Don, but I feel like the casual ones are the ones that are the most exciting to like for them to like dive into and ask questions.
I would agree. And actually, this counts as your 3rd question, so the other 2 get 2 more. But yes, because that is almost exclusively how I craft my content. Because for so long, all of the people that I knew that were in my circles, whether it was on the internet or friend groups, they had only seen the movies. And so I always make my videos from the perspective of someone that has, maybe seen the movies once or twice. And if not at all, I can just sort of craft it into like hey, if you like this part of Game of Thrones or this part of Shadow and Bone or whatever you want, it's like, yeah, let's lead the horse to water and be like, hey, by the way, there's more than 4 female characters if you read the Silmarillion, and they're all badasses. So, again, easing people into it.
Like Bale, one of our friends, has read it like last year, and I go, honestly, just go to Don's podcast and just listen to him read the Silmarillion. Believe it or not, Don, this is gonna shock you. We think very similarly.
You don't say.
Just is so much easier to digest because there's a lot coming at you in that book. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Took me I want to say it's like 5 or 6 months to read the Silmarillion the first time.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Anyway, Char, did you have a question for me or something? Did we want to?
Yeah, I do have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, like, I was thinking, do you think the Lord of the Rings universe could work in the Star Wars universe and vice versa? Do you think the Star Wars universe could work in the Lord of the Rings universe?
I think Lord of the Rings works in Star Wars. I don't think Star Wars works in Lord of the Rings. And the only reason why is, and this is part of something that I've been concocting in my head for many, many weeks now, probably months at this point, is you just have Middle Earth be a planet. Somewhere unknown regions, edge of the galaxy kind of stuff. Just have somebody crash land on big field with a big white city in the background. And you're like, oh, okay, well, we're doing this.
So Lothal.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Minas Tirith being a Lothal insert.
I mean, it looks kind of like it.
It does. Yeah. It does. It's got that very similar. I can't imagine Dave Filoni isn't also a Lord of the Rings fan.
Oh, he very much is. We think about the same things. Like, that's literally how I would have offered it, because I would have been like, Saruman and Sauron, if you want to put it in the Star Wars universe, they're the equivalent of Sith.
Oh, for sure.
Like, they are lost Sith. I wouldn't put it within the frame of the prequel, original, or the sequel trilogy.
For sure.
And the era that I would put it in is either the Old Republic or the High Republic, because very much like the aesthetic is medieval. Like, the lightsabers have crossguard. They're very much like knights and in the whole like.
And we've woo, which one? Where did you get that one? That's beautiful.
The Galaxy's Edge. It's the exclusive Stellan Geos lightsaber.
It's the most expensive lightsaber in Galaxy's Edge officially.
Do you mind me asking how many hundreds of dollars?
400. I don't have it with me because it's like it comes in like this giant wooden crate, but like it collapses down. Like,
did you just break that?
No, it collapses like this, and it has like screws on them, and like you can put the blade in.
Oh, that's cool.
See what I mean?
Okay, well, yeah, that definitely fits the aesthetic a little bit more. Goodness gracious.
Like, that's the whole aesthetic of the High Republic. It's that type of.
It's very much like
first. It's just Gondor.
Yeah, basically.
That's just like Gondor First Age, just, high elven gobbledygook.
And honestly, I've been thinking that you could fit it in any. I don't think it works in the Third Age as much. I think it would definitely work in the first or second, for sure, because of all the world building that happens within those 2 ages, especially the First Age.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Luke, you're spinning so many ideas at the moment in my head right now, with like all the different High Republic characters talking to Rings of Power characters.
This is literally why me and Don like.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Exactly.
Yeah, Luke. Wait, don't you have the Sword of Elendil?
Elendil, but. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
we both
two.
We have 2 versions.
His is a little better than mine. He's got a lightsaber version of the thing, which I'm very jealous of.
Really?
Yeah.
Don, I don't think I've told you. I want to do a crossover of Elendil from Rings of Power, like the getup he wears in that, and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars, because I cosplay as Obi-Wan. And they're
right. You do. Yeah.
They're very similar in characteristics.
Yeah, Gondorian king. You need the Numenorian bracers, maybe the tabard in front. The helmet would be great. You guys don't mind if we just build a cosplay for Luke real quick? Do you?
Yeah, go ahead. It's not like we don't already brainstorm ideas for Luke's cosplays.
That's just 90% of them.
Like the Callus cosplay, like that's been talked about for a long time.
I did do that.
Yeah, Luke did the fulcrum once he joined the rebellion. Callus. So like the hair was messier, the beard was bushier.
Oh.
I can't pull off the chops.
How do I put this? You have a very hairy face, but not like
hairy.
Structurally. You've got to work to make it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like mustaches,
There's a big enough gap between. Again, this is just me brainstorming cosplay ideas. Please don't think I'm insulting your appearance, because you are wearing my merchandise. So like I do feel the need to like hype you up a little bit.
No,
yes.
don't. You can knock me down, because my fiance will absolutely enjoy hearing you like completely just knock me down, because she feels like I have too big of a head lately. So
well, then your face is stupid.
Yeah.
There you go.
There.
But again, like I've been on the same track as Dan for like ever since those movies came out, because me and Don were lucky enough because we were old enough to live through that age of holy shit. Fellowship came out, then no, Phantom Menace came out May '99.
Oh, yes.
And then Fellowship came out in December,
Mm-hmm.
and then
And then Attack of the Clones,
Clones
and
came out
then
in 2000.
Attack of the Clones came out in
2000?
May of 2002.
Yes, the year I was born, making all feel old.
Yes, making us feel anyway. So there was a 2-year gap, or was Two Towers out in
Two
2000?
Towers was December of 22.
Okay.
Two Towers was
So
December of
so
22.
they literally had there was only 1 year that there wasn't, or 2 years that there wasn't anything.
It's
you
pretty
know?
great. It's,
So
yeah.
like I had brainstormed everything to where like I made it fit that Anakin Obi-Wan in all of those movies. My whole brain with this whole thing as like an 11-year-old kid just playing fantasy and being the biggest nerd has never left me. And like
Same.
the fact that I still think about how I could realistically do this is mind-boggling. I think about it. This is my Roman Empire.
Which can we just take a moment to appreciate that, like, TikTok, I think, has introduced the idea that like your experiences in life, very few of them were actually unique to you.
Yeah.
Lots of dudes think about the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
And lots of women think about Darcy flexing his hand in Pride and Prejudice. That's just
that is so true.
It's a very deep cut, but like if you know, you know. Anyway, sorry. I'm going on a tangent again, but here we are.
This is bad. Me and Don on the same podcast. This is what happens. Hereth.
Well, I mean, this could be the point where I reveal what I was going to say earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so this is going to be heresy to the Lord of the Rings fandom. I've only seen the theatrical cuts of the movies.
Oh, that's fine. That's totally fine. Here's my thing. And I actually had to do some soul searching because I got tagged in a video about 200 times saying that if someone is watching The Lord of the Rings for the first time, don't show them the extended edition. And I was like, no, that's horrible, blasphemy. But the more I thought about it, from like a perspective of someone that doesn't like the movies, you've wasted less of their time. And if they do like the movies, you now have an excuse to watch them again with someone. And don't get me wrong, the extended editions add a lot.
It's closer to the book than the theatrical releases. And there's not going to be a ton that are in the books that are in the movie. There's a whole section. Like the whole Council of Elrond is what, 30, 40 pages?
Oh God, it's I can tell you in audiobook form, because I use the audiobooks to fall asleep sometimes. It is a solid 45 minutes of exposition dump. In a 16-hour audiobook, 45 minutes of it is the Council of Elrond. And it's just, but that's where I love that. Like for books and listening to like, just tell me all of the juicy little details about whatever. And
wait, Hereth, you said you haven't seen any of the extended editions?
I've seen like maybe like the first 2 hours of the extended edition for Fellowship because Luke showed me it once and then we never finished it.
No, I probably because I fell asleep, to be honest. I watched those to fall asleep. I watched those movies to fall asleep because I'm just like, I want to fall asleep to this. It's either that or Star Wars. You know, I've seen these movies thousands of times. It's not like I could probably wake up and be like, oh, there's Galadriel losing her shit. Awesome. And then fall right back to Don, what's your favorite Lord of the Rings movie?
It varies. And like, I go Fellowship most times. Fellowship of the Ring were to end and there were no more after that. You could end Fellowship of the Ring and have it be a complete story. Two Towers does not have that. Return of the King has too much baggage and you don't get a lot of the backstory. So I think as terms of like standing on its own, being a full complete story, world introduction, world building, characters, dialogue, action scenes, all that, it's Fellowship of the Ring. Caveat, the Helm's Deep battle scene is perhaps one of the best large-scale battles ever filmed in cinema, and the Return of the King has both of my favorite scenes in the trilogy.
Okay, I agree, and especially with what PJ did with Helm's Deep, with that being less than it's not even a paragraph.
So there's a little bit more than a paragraph. It is a lot of build up because it all happens in one night. Though compared to the movies, there's like this long trek and they need to go to Helm's Deep. No, like they're all on horses going full tilt and they do everything in Rohan in the equivalent of like a day and a half. So they cut a lot of that. The actual battle itself is not like he swooped, he stabbed, he did this. It's more like, and then 30 minutes minutes later, after they had gone from the rampart, the ladder fell and the bomb went off. And then they do a little bit more dialogue. Gimli gets lost in the caves, and it's a whole thing. It's a little more than a paragraph, but it is certainly not what Peter Jackson did. But I think that Peter Jackson did a good thing by not keeping with that.
I mean, it's the equivalent of like lightsaber duels in Star Wars books. It's like you can't really get into detail with like slash. Like you can kind of just show it a little bit and then move on.
Exactly. Or like if any of you are Dune fans, the battle scenes in Dune.
Yes, they're
terribly written. They're like not even, but like the action, the Dune battles are described, but they are not like swoosh, slash, stab, use the future power, stab that guy, dodge out of the way. It's like, and then the armies broke upon each other and they all died.
Yeah,
that's it.
Dune is very much, and this is very weird because it's like a mixture of all three franchises. It's Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, and Star Wars.
And it came out before all three of them.
And yeah, and it's crazy. Char, what's your favorite?
So for the longest time, I was a Return of the King guy. But then as of like a month ago, I started watching the extended edition of Two Towers, and I fucking love Two Towers. Two Towers is my favorite. Battle of Helm's Deep, everything that goes into that is so like the scene where Saruman and Grima are in the tower, and he's like, "How can fire induce stone?" And then he like grabs, and then Saruman grabs the candle, and he's like, "If the wall is breached, Helm's Deep will fall."
But
like,
my
it's
lord,
like a
there
number
is
beyond reckoning thousands to storm the keep. Tens of thousands. But my lord, there is no force. And they walk out on the balcony, and then you hear
surprise, Shawty.
Oh,
what a good scene.
I was like, oh my god.
It's so hype.
I will say that mine is obviously Return of the King. I think Return of the King Extended Edition is my favorite film of all time, just because of how there's a lot of complaints that it is really, really long, and I get that. After reading Return of the King, the book, I was like, bro, like that, and that's my and both the movie and the book are my favorites of the entire trilogy. And here's the thing: if you haven't read the books, it jumps. You get different perspectives starting from Two Towers. Two Towers starts with Gimli, Aragorn, and Legolas, and then obviously Gandalf. And then halfway through it cuts to Sam, Frodo, and Gollum. And
I've heard about this.
Yeah, they go back in time.
It's like the book split in two halves essentially.
Yes, yeah. And that happens with Return of the King. Return of the King starts the same way that it does Two Towers, if I remember correctly.
So Return of the King's books line up kind of close-ish for the Aragorn and company storyline. Frodo and Sam, at the beginning of Return of the King, Sam is already rescuing Frodo from the tower. Not from Shiloh, from the tower at Cirith Ungol. So all of the stuff from the beginning of Return of the King up until Sam, they have the ring. That is the Two Towers book, which is wild. Also, like when I first read the books after I had seen the movies, I was like, whoa, wait, what? This is, this isn't supposed to be, okay, mind-blowing. I was like, how did Peter Jackson look at this and go, yeah, I'm just going to move all of that? That was a terrible New
We're
Zealand.
gonna put that in the third film.
But that was one thing that I saw that Peter Jackson did, was that there were some lines said by different characters that he put onto other characters. Like there was, I think he said something about like there was lines that Elrond says in the books that just didn't fit with the movies, that he gave it to, forgetting who, but he mixed and matched a lot of different lines.
100%. Off the top of my head, I know Boromir has some. Treebeard gets a lot of Tom Bombadil's lines.
Don't get me started on that guy.
I still don't know who Tom Bombadil is.
Tom Bombadil is weird because he's this character that doesn't actually do anything to move the plot forward except give the hobbits some nice shiny daggers that later get used to some great effect. Merry stabs the Witch King, they're used against some of the orcs, all that kind of stuff. But he's very silly. I want you to imagine the silliest goose of an old man who somehow got very rich and managed to pull a very hot 20-something who was okay with a May-December relationship. I then want you to imagine that this guy and this girl go off into the forest and form a commune, not with other people, but with all of the woodland creatures in the world. And then they both become Disney princesses. And the hobbits stumble upon said Disney princesses and then help the hobbits. And then they're never seen again. And when asked, why couldn't this magical entity of a Disney princess jolly jolly old man with a hat and boots, just take the ring, because again, the ring doesn't work on him. He doesn't turn invisible. He can see Frodo when Frodo puts it on. They're like, why don't we just give it to this guy who might be God? Gandalf goes, no, we don't want to give it to this guy. He'd forget about it. Oh, well, what is he then? What manner of creature, what manner of person is this? Do you know what they explain about Tom Bombadil beyond that? Neither do I.
What?
They literally do not fucking touch on him until Gandalf, at the end of Return of the King, goes and visits him. That's literally all he is good for. He literally gives them the daggers. They're like, hey, it's almost as ridiculous as why people asked on why didn't they just take the Eagles to Mordor? Why not have Tom Bombadil join the Fellowship and give him the fucking ring? He's not getting corrupted. Makes zero sense at all. People are like, oh, but he's just so fun. But he doesn't make narrative sense to me. I get he did it for his kids, but my God, it is so frustrating.
This is very similar to, I literally posted a video about this yesterday, my Christmas movie spectrum thing, where I don't know if either of you two are familiar, but it's the idea of, if you remove Christmas from the story, does it impact the plot? And if it does, then it's closer to a Christmas movie than normal. If it doesn't, then it's not a Christmas movie. I would posit the same thing applies to like a Tom Bombadil-esque type character. If you have a character, and if you remove that character, nothing changes, then you don't really need that character. Tom Bombadil is that character. Doesn't do anything. So just, he's there for the vibes.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking because
Dude,
there's
Tom,
there's because a lot of people ask about Tom Bombadil and
No one knows.
he just doesn't fit in the movies.
He doesn't. Oh no, he doesn't.
That's a lot of filler,
No.
I guess.
It's
Oh,
not,
it is. It 100% is.
It's filler, and it's like it doesn't even do it justice. But he literally stumbles upon them, and it's like the equivalent of a crackhead coming up to you and just randomly talking to you.
No,
don't,
it's not.
Don't tell me that it's not.
It's the equivalent
Ron.
of an old wizened man with magical powers.
Okay,
coming up
but
to you.
let's make it for real life. If a guy comes up to you and says "Adam ba dim ba dum ba da," what are you gonna do? You're gonna look at him and say, "What the fuck? What? Can you make sense?" Literally, that's literally the whole thing to it, though, Don.
So
Are you gonna tell me that I'm wrong?
no. She came down in a bubble, Doug.
Doug.
All right. So for those that maybe don't know who Tom Bombadil is, the exact words are "Hey doll, merry doll, ring a dong dillo," which is the little jaunty song he said. I'm just watching Hereth's facial expression as I try and make sense of this to someone who doesn't really have as deep a knowledge as I do. I try and not think about it too much because I get like loop.
Look, it's like your obscure Lord of the Rings fact, except you're looking at the person you're telling the facts to.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. It is kind of nice to have this sort of feedback, actually. Maybe I should start filming in front of people. Do you guys mind if I film a video right now? Hi, welcome to Obscure Lord of the Rings Facts. Why are there 3 other white men in this podcast with me? It has to do with Lord of the Rings, I promise. Let me explain. It doesn't. We've fully lost the plot. I don't even remember what we're talking about.
Hey Don, I have a question for you. Do you wear wigs?
No, I do not.
Have you worn wigs?
No, I have not.
Will you wear wigs?
Oh God.
I have a few of for Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings. I don't know if they're like original like artworks of like the 78 Lord of the Rings. So I have this card.
Oh, you have the Hildebrand. Yes. Oh, okay. So the artwork that you are showing right now is created by one of the premier artists of that time, and I guess I want to say still one of the premier artists. This is Grant Hildebrand. He and his brother, oh goodness, Tom Hildebrand. I think it's Grant and hang on, I'm gonna Google it now because I'm
and then I also have another one. It's this one.
You have another one? Which one do you?
Yeah.
Oh, you got Pact of Negation? Oh, that I think is going for a not insignificant amount of money.
I have a lot of these cards, and then I have like the Surge Foil Palantir of Orthunk card.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of nice cards.
So I'm sorry, it's Greg. Greg and Tim Hildebrand are artists that did some of the really early Lord of the Rings Lord of the Rings stuff. They also did a bunch of the Star Wars stuff. They did the bunch of the trading cards stuff, I think.
Oh,
they did one of the posters actually. They did the
Luke-
artistic Luke holding the thing with
with his chest out, with his chest out.
with-
Yes.
yeah,
and
with the
then
big
Leia
chest
over
with
his
Star Wars in the back.
head.
And yeah,
I didn't know that.
background. Yeah, that's him. That's
Yeah,
him.
I was wondering because when I pulled those cards, I was thinking maybe that was from the original Lord of the Rings, but it's not.
This is just they do they did, you know, Lord of the Rings artwork, and they were some of the first, I don't want to say like official guys, but like they have done, like, it's them, John Howe, Alan
Yeah,
Lee,
John Howe,
all of the
yeah.
people that were like concept artists for the Peter Jackson trilogy. I don't believe the Hildebrands were involved in the movies, but like they are the people you go to when you want Lord of the Rings art.
A lot of the illustration, like the Silmarillion illustration that I have, obviously a lot of the drawings are from Tolkien, but they'll also throw in John Hamm a lot. Like they use John Hamm to do the covers.
John Howe.
Like,
John Hamm
Howe.
is the
John Howe.
actor
Yeah,
that
that's right.
plays
That's right.
Don.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
hey, if we want to go Don
Dorman.
Draper on this one.
Oh Jesus, no.
I mean, I can put on the Riz if you need me to. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
Or if you've seen Community,
Yes.
Abed, what are you doing? Don Draper from Mad Men.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Anyway, sorry, I only speak in weird internet references and TikToks. Anyway, John Howe, prolific artist for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, as well as the Hildebrands.
Yeah, it's crazy, but crap. No, I can't think.
You forgot what you were going to say because we were talking about something else, and then you lost your train of thought.
No, I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
Char, do you have any other questions?
Well,
or
to
Hereth?
fill you in, so
wait,
I have
we have more.
I have 4 Magic Lord of the Rings decks, just Lord of the Rings. So I have my Sauron deck. Then I have my Eowyn, and then I just built this yesterday, my Saruman deck, and then I have my Samwise Frodo partner deck.
Oh, that's a good one.
I pulled a sick ass Radagast card the other day.
Is it the full artwork one from the?
Just like the Saruman one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Love.
Yeah, I have a few of them that are like that. I have the Spiteful Banditry card, and then I have the Hugh Entwood card.
They're gorgeous. The artwork for this Magic the Gathering set is, and I've said this, being paid for it and not being paid for it, gorgeous. Just like some of the best Lord of the Rings stuff that we've gotten in many.
Yeah,
I love playing him. I play with my buddy who he got me into it, and I was like, wait, and because it was Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings was a neat way to get me immersed into the game.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. It's like, you like it,
and they're not like, they're useful. They're very useful.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're good cards that you can throw in other decks. I will say it's very cool that you have 4. I do apologize because I feel the need to one up you because I have 7 commanders and 15 dual color decks. So when I tell you I went all out on this for months, I literally discovered every niche like thing in all of this, and it's such a good set.
Yeah, I love it because I got into it a month ago and I already have 4 decks.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay.
So
4 commander decks in a month. Good for you then.
Yeah, because I was like, I really want to get into this because the Frodo Sam one and then the Saruman one was the ones that I just built. The Eowyn and Sauron.
Wait, you built the Frodo Sam one?
Like I made it like from like the cards that I already had pre-existing.
Oh, do you know about the pre-existing 100 card commander deck that has Frodo and Sam as their commander?
No.
Oh, you should Google that.
The Sam, and then I have the partner with Frodo Adventure. That's what I have in here.
Okay, cool.
And then with that, I have the really nice like Surge Foil Fangorn Forest card, and then I want to get the really cool Last March of the Ents card. That's what I want. Because Last March of the Ents is broken.
I have it. It's so good.
And then I have the Party Tree card. And then I have so many.
Char.
All right, well, next time we're on, let's do a Magic the Gathering playthrough sort of deal. We can do a 4-person. Do you both play as well, or is this a
no? This is a Char thing. This is a Char thing, and I am totally for it because like not to also put Don up on a pedestal. He did play Magic the Gathering with Merry and Pippin, Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd with Nerd of the Rings.
Cool. Yeah, that's a cool.
Yeah. So it's on
Wait,
both
in
their
person or was it on
over,
Onion?
It was over Zoom, unfortunately, but
Zoom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking, like, was it on the Friendship Onion or?
Oh God, no! I wish. So they're actually taking a break from the Friendship Onion now. But I was fortunate enough to be able to just pitch this idea that I said, hey, look, we're mutuals on Instagram. We follow each other. If it's a business opportunity, we might be able to make something happen. And I messaged Billy and I was like, I know this is a long shot, but we're doing this thing. This is Matt from Nerd of the Rings and I, who, by the way, was also in that tavern in London all those months ago. And that was
awesome.
Matt's amazing. Just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube and well deserved. That man works so hard. But I was sitting down and I was like, hey, Matt, I have a really dumb idea. What if I just pitch them this? And nobody told me no. And I'm sort of just like sitting there waiting. It's like, all right, we're going to start. Don, are you ready to host this thing? I'm like, I can't believe I did this. I didn't do this. This isn't real. And I like fully dissociated. And like, you can see me like the first 5 or 6 seconds of the video just be like, okay. My face just kind of lost all.
Don, you like literally just finding your page. Like the day that I found your page, I was like, dude, this man gets at me. He gets me. He doesn't know me, but he gets me.
And now I'm on your podcast.
Looks like parasocial relationship built.
Hey, no joke though. There's a certain line that I think TikTok has kind of blurred in that, like, if people are content creators or like get inspired to make content but have previously been following people, but they turn out to be like not weird people, there's definitely a blurring of the lines between like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with this person, and like, oh, this is a totally normal person that is a cool dude that can hang out and just kind of do whatever. And I'm fortunate enough that most of my mutuals are people that I followed. It's like, wow, you're really talented, please follow me. And they did, and now here I am, just friends with a bunch of really rad people.
Yeah, well, other than the fact that I haven't finished Rings of Power. I've seen Rings of Power, but I haven't finished it.
That's fine.
Because what Luke, you and I watched the first 2 episodes, then I stopped watching it. Like, what am I to expect from? Because I got to episode 2.
Yeah. It's fine. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, but I think a lot of people, it almost has that sort of sequel Star Wars trilogy effect in that you've had so long to think about so many things, and you know that if you were in charge, you would just do a great job. And it wasn't what a lot of people, I think, expected it to be, especially compared to the Peter Jackson trilogy. But I just kind of was like, it's fine. It's a good show. There are some really great moments. I think episode 6 is the standout episode in terms of like action sequences, character development. There's some really great moments of dialogue throughout the series. It has its, things that I would definitely improve, but actually, I can say this legally. I gave feedback after the season ended and after every episode to folks slightly higher up. Myself and a few others were like, we could probably do some improvement for this part and that part, and maybe just don't worry about that part.
So question, Don, is it a specific part of lore that was kind of skewed between a certain big fiery thing and a that certain plot point? Is that something that was talked about, or am I not allowed to say?
So that part particularly wasn't discussed. I will say though, they are setting up that for like a long game, and I actually think that is a good way to do it. Because you have I'm gonna spoil a little bit of it, but it's not like, there's a reason the Balrog is in Moria, and it's not a good reason, and a lot of things are going to happen because that Balrog is there, if you sort of follow my meaning. But I think planting the seed early was good. The one thing I will say that is, this is a theory, and it's a stupid theory, but it ties into sort of what, you haven't finished it yet. Never mind. Cut this part. No,
you can go ahead.
Okay, here's what I will say.
Because I'm interested.
No
you have
spoilers.
me at the oh, come on. You have me on the edge of my fucking seat here.
No spoilers. I will say the following sentence for season 2 of Rings of Power. I have a theory that if it's a new character that we did not meet in season 1, I'm just going to assume it's Sauron. And that goes for anybody.
Wait, whoa. Hey, hold on.
Okay, here we go. We're getting into it. Here we go. Okay.
wait. I had to change my whole goddamn name on all social medias because that son of a bitch was supposed to be the person that is supposed to be. So you're
Oh,
telling me
that was
that's
iconic.
not the case?
I'm saying that is the case. I'm saying it might
Oh,
also be the
wait.
case
Hold on.
that
You're
others.
talking about. Are you talking about his fairer form?
I'm talking about multiple forms.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. All right, okay,
Because
I'm back on
okay,
board. I'm back
okay,
on board.
okay,
I was a
okay,
little
okay.
upset because
Are we gonna see his
because there was.
elven form, like the one from Shadow of Mordor, or
I will say this about the whole thing, like it was. Like I should have seen it from the very beginning that person was that.
are you talking about Hallbrand?
Yes,
Yes.
you know
See,
about
I
this.
see.
Yeah, you
I
already.
know.
You
I see.
already-
I know things. I just haven't finished it.
Yeah, you just need to finish it, but we're gonna talk about it anyway because then it'll make sense to you. I should have
Snape
known.
kills Captain Kirk.
I should have known. I should have known that it was him when they walked into Numenor. He looked at the forge and was like, "That I like." I should have been like that little bitch. Don, what was your favorite plot storyline?
Moria, Minds of Moria. For
Yeah,
sure. I think those three actors did a phenomenal job with Disa, Doran, and Elrond. Just phenomenal.
For me, it's a tie between Numenor and Moria. And the only reason why I say that Numenor was one of my favorite is because I am so connected to Aragorn being my favorite character. Just seeing all of the lore behind the people that were before him, like reading about it in the book is one thing. Seeing Numenor in the flesh and just like seeing it like in its glory at its highest, points. At its highest points, honestly, looking at the guy who plays Al-Farazon. We are a hate Farazon podcast, by the way. I don't care about anybody else's opinion. That motherfucker's the worst. He's terrible. And what he does in the book, he's an asshole. But I liked how story. I liked how that story was. I know people had a lot of problems with things that were going on in that storyline, but to me, I felt like that was just so well done. From like the music to Galadriel, and I need Morfydd Clark to play Avar Kriss in the High Republic.
Agreed.
Which Morfydd Clark actually follows.
Yeah, she follows the podcast on Instagram, partially because of Willie. So,
and shout out New Betta Do Betta. Just that dude is.
He goes hard,
coolest
all the time.
My man is just great guy. If you're listening, Willie, respect.
Yeah. So Don, I kind of went on a little tangent, and I found all of
you found all the cool cards. Yeah.
So I found another one.
Oh yes, this is Bearman. This is Beorn.
Yeah, it's a stone hewer giant, and it has like a little text at the bottom about Gloin. He's like, valiant men.
Yes.
So Gloin is Gimli's dad, and they all hang out with Beorn for like a day or two when they are running. Oh my god, I haven't read The Hobbit in probably 5
running away
years.
from the goblins.
I think it's the goblins. Yeah, that seems like the correct answer, I guess.
I feel like the first Hobbit movie was pretty congruent with like the first part of the book. Like I felt like it was pretty darn close, shot for shot, word for word, pretty much the same.
Word for word, bar for bar.
Bar for bar.
Sorry. Anyway, sorry. That's just
no. The Hobbit films. They're
fine. The Hobbit films are fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
Just like Rings of Power, it's fine.
Wasn't Guillermo del Toro supposed to direct those?
Yeah, so that was a whole thing, and then a lot of studio involvement in that, unfortunately. So like Guillermo del Toro was trying to do a bunch of things, Pale Orc, Azog, all of that, and it just like things were stalling, and he was on other projects. There's a whole I don't know if you've seen the Lindsay Ellis YouTube. There's a whole like docu series about it in 3 parts. Each one is like 45 minutes long. It's just like maybe not 45, maybe 20, but it's like a deep dive into here's why The Hobbit probably didn't feel like The Lord of the Rings, and a lot of it is studio involvement, bringing Peter Jackson in like halfway through the process, not letting him cook, adding.
Not letting him cook.
Let him cook.
No, well, they trust me. If Peter had been the sole one from the beginning, I think it would have turned out.
I think so too. I'm also of the opinion though that kind of did a bit of a detriment to the Lord of the Rings franchise, because I would have loved to have seen Guillermo del Toro's take on the
agreed.
Hobbit. Give me it's sort of almost that like the Star Wars effect, right? Like,
Yes.
give me more Empire Strikes Back. I want more of that, more of that. When instead, for most major franchises to survive, and I say this, you know, obviously there are various exceptions, but you look at things like the Halo franchise, the Dune franchise, the Star Wars franchise. There are multiple people now in this world. It's not just helmed by one person. And, you know, if you have the ability to have something be a creative driving force for decades, keep the same person if you like, if we're still going strong. But so many franchises, I feel like nowadays, have to sort of lean into the multi-person creativity process. I would have loved to have seen another version of the Hobbit movies that wasn't in the same vein as Peter Jackson.
That's fair.
And wasn't the other issue with The Hobbit, from what I was reading, was they tried to force it into a trilogy when they originally wanted to do it as a duology?
Yeah. It
That was
probably should have been a
Guillermo's.
part 1 and part 2, but
Mm.
yeah. Which is the Battle of Five Armies, as we've talked about before, like a half hour ago. The battle is not written because Bilbo falls unconscious.
Yes.
And have a big sort of cinematic masterpiece trilogy, studios look at that and they go, oh, let's put lightning in a bottle again, rather than look at the piece of media you're trying to adapt and, you know, interpret it a different way. You can have a big battle scene at the end, but it didn't need to be the whole movie.
No, I agree.
That was a bit much.
I think the one good thing about The Hobbit, and I will die on this
Mhm.
hill, is that everybody
Oh.
bitches about Legolas being in the later 2 movies. And
Mhm.
I push back on it because what's to say that he wasn't there? Tolkien never wrote about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sort of the in between that so many people find themselves in, is like, oh, well, if he didn't write about it, we're just kind of being a little sneaky. I put Legolas in the movie. It's fine.
I was gonna say, I remember seeing this on TikTok recently because there was like a whole like series of videos by a creator about like actors getting manipulated by studios, and I remember seeing Evangeline Lilly got manipulated by WB for The Hobbit because they told her, "Oh, we're not going to do the love triangle. We're not doing that."
Oh yeah, and then they brought in reshoots.
And reshoots were like, "We're going to do this," and she was already contractually obligated to do the movie, so she couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
And that,
There are, though, if I don't know if Evangeline Lilly will appreciate this, there are cuts of The Hobbit that exist without Tauriel in it. They have cut all of those scenes. They have cut all of the. There's a couple. I think there's one called the Tolkien.
So without Tauriel, does that cut the scene with Keeley?
All of the scenes with.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So like Tauriel is not the physical image of Tauriel is not shown on screen at all. She might be a background character in a shot or two, but I don't think she's ever acknowledged. It's a thing.
That's crazy. I haven't, like, I'll go back and I'll rewatch The Hobbit, the extended editions. It's like, I watch the extended editions and I'm like, solid trilogy.
Yeah. Oh, hey, listen. Oh, excuse me. Watch them as many times as you want.
Yeah.
But there's things to be said about them to discuss. And, you know, media literacy is mostly dead nowadays. So,
Yeah, no shit. Nobody ever wants to talk about nuance or talk about, I mean,
I love how you're saying this to the people that are in the Star Wars fandom. Like,
yeah.
Exactly.
That's one thing, Don. I mean, when those posters came out for Rings of Power, like everybody was like, "Oh yeah," like all you hear about the Tolkien community is like, "Oh yeah, they're so cool, like they're so chill, like they're not." And then that happened, and I'm like, everybody in your guys' community, I can say this from when I wasn't in the community. Like people that I'd follow, you knew about it. Emily at the time were like talking about it. I'm like, bro, this ain't new to us. We're dealing with this shit all the time. Like, so I'm like watching it.
Here.
I'm like watching it. I'm like, huh. Same people that were shitting on Riva for being a African American woman gets the same treatment as Diza as a dark skinned dwarf. And I'm like, why? Like, why are we? Why? And it was the weirdest thing is that people that called themselves lore masters, and I hate that fucking term. Just like we're like, Tolkien said that they were of pale skin, so
it's an adaptation.
And
also, by the way, Riva is awesome. Like that character is cool.
Yes, agreed. And I think she should be in. I think she should be in more stuff. I thought
she absolutely should.
I thought
she should be her own show at this point.
No, I agreed, or a book, because the Obi-Wan Kenobi series I could talk forever. And the way people like don't understand what that show is trying to tell you, Like, it's very
Mhm,
clear on what it's
mhm.
trying to tell you, and people just missed it.
Because it's the
Beyond
classic
important.
Star Wars fandom. I wanted this, but it didn't give me this, so it's bad.
Wow, that got too real there for a second. My God.
No, it's
Whew.
it's very true. Like, it's almost like, well, when Andor came out in okay, how do we want to handle this?
Careful, careful.
Bricks and
We
screws
are
bad. Bricks and screws bad. Swoosh swoosh lightsaber good. And said
Well, I think-
creator is making a $1,300 lightsaber, and then
I'll give you
after
a hint. Bald head from Canada.
yeah, they hail from Canada. They have 3.5 million followers. No,
Wow, we're
3.5
just saying their
million
name at this
subscribers,
point.
and he's a complete douche.
Let's kill the animosity a little bit and let's have some eye candy. So this is the Radagast card I was talking about.
Whoa. That is a sweet card. Nice.
You're like ADHD. Whoa.
Yeah, honest to God, that is how my brain works.
Don, what's better, the original trilogy of Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
Honest to God, because I could break it down by various different okay. Overall, one is science fiction and one is fantasy. But science fiction is just fantasy that hasn't happened yet, or whatever that turn of phrase is. Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna get crucified one way or the other, so I have to go through this. A big part of me was going to go Lord of the Rings. However, there is a certain agelessness that exists in the Star Wars universe, in that there is something for everyone. In terms of like capitalism, Star Wars wins because Ewoks are very silly and they were made children, and Star Wars is made for children. The Lord of the Rings was made for neurodivergent people like me, and also everyone else can enjoy it too, but I'm gonna get the most out of it, I think. So in terms of like broad appeal, I think I go Star Wars. In terms of like, well, okay, hang on.
This is
The
so
rest of this
interesting.
podcast is just going to be me thinking about, oh God. Because like in terms of action scenes, I think like from a franchise perspective, Star Wars is a little lacking in its epicness. You've got a couple of lightsaber fights and they're very cool, but like show me the Band of Brothers version of Star Wars. Show me the genre swapping horror movie part of that. And oh man, am I switching back to Lord of the Rings? No, have I talked myself out of the? You know what? Let me sit on this because I'm gonna think about this way longer than I should.
I'm sure we all have a couple of questions.
You've
Yeah,
accidentally stumbled.
because this is my thought process of it.
God,
because
please, I need, yeah.
Because I'm thinking like I was just comparing them like face value, like
Mhm.
Fellowship versus New Hope, Two Towers versus Empire, Return of the Jedi versus Return of the King, very similar titles. So for Fellowship versus A New Hope, I have Fellowship winning.
Okay.
For Empire and Two Towers, Empire is like the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
I would
so
agree.
Empire
I would agree.
wins. Return of the King and Return of the Jedi. You see, I have Return of
See.
the King.
Yeah,
But at the
agreed.
same time, I was thinking like the impact on culture Star Wars had. Like even till this day.
Yeah.
Like I was just thinking like which franchise has had more cultural impact?
Oh.
I know that like with obviously they both have won Oscars, but like the way that A New
Oh
Hope
no, like Return of the King.
changed
No, like Return of the King
cinema?
won Oscars.
Yeah.
But like A New Hope
Whoa.
won Best Picture in 1977.
Because one, like New Hope won 6 Oscars and then Empire won 2.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, on the other hand, won like fucking 30.
17 overall throughout the trilogy, and I think 11 for
11.
Return of the King. Here's what I will say. The cultural impact of Star Wars is a different kind of cultural impact because we're still seeing the Lord of the Rings effect now, mostly because of Disney, I think, in large part, but that's a cultural impact itself. Like, if it wasn't such a strong cultural impact, Disney wouldn't have bought it. I think Lord of the Rings was kind of like the silent background influencer, because you look at what Tolkien influenced by, you've got Norse mythology and Anglo-Saxon stuff, and like the fairy stories of Britain and I mean the UK in general, and the entire, I mean, so many aspects of different European cultures that he sort of tied in there. You've got the monotheism of Christianity, the pantheon of gods with the Silmarillion and all of the Valar. So like you look at things like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
and Tolkien laid the fantasy for that. And then you look at what Dungeons and Dragons influence. Like, we don't have Stranger Things without J.R.R. Tolkien.
No,
if
yeah,
you
I
kind of want to
agree.
look at it like that.
Like if you like connect it, yeah.
Well,
there's so many different dots.
and you wouldn't
that-
have Star
Like
Wars
this
without
inspired this, and
Tolkien.
then this inspired this.
You wouldn't have Star Wars without Tolkien either.
You would not, but I think to an extent of like cultural impact, Tolkien has 20 plus years on. Oh man, this is so interesting. God, because there's so many aspects to like deconstruct. I think I go Lord of the Rings. I agree with your rankings on the movies. I think New Hope is a very close second though. Like they're neck and neck when it comes to like movies.
Introductory movies.
Yes, introductory world building movies to establish the world, the galaxy, the thing that they're trying to build.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Because it was hard for me. Because Two Towers is absolutely incredible, but
But
nothing.
Empire Strikes Back.
nothing
Empire Strikes
tops
Back
Empire
is
for me.
just
When I was in the process of asking about the original trilogy versus Lord of the Rings, I took it upon myself to be like, I wonder, because there's some actors in Lord of the Rings that have been in Star Wars, vice versa.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, when I was doing the research, I had no idea how many there were.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
crossover.
Because
There's
like
a
let's see,
lot.
so we have Dominic Monaghan, who plays obviously Merry, and he plays Beaumont Kin in Rise of Skywalker. Spurley, Count Dooku, Andy Serkis, Keen Aloy, and Snoke. Then we have Anthony Daniels, who voices Legolas in the 78.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name right. Martin Sokas, who plays Celeborn. He voices Poggle the Lesser in Attack of the Clones.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Huh.
Richard Armitage, who plays
Richard
Thorin.
Armitage.
He
Thorin,
was a background Naboo pilot in The Phantom Menace. Bruce Spence,
cool.
who plays the Mouth of Sauron. He plays Tian Madan in Revenge of the Sith, the tall Powan guy.
What?
Holy
something with
shit!
teeth
I
in
didn't
those
even
two.
know this.
And
Yeah,
Elijah
seriously.
Wood. I don't know if you've seen Resistance, Don, but he plays a character in Resistance named Jace Rucklin.
Oh, you know what? I have not seen Resistance, but I did hear mutterings. I think I saw like the announcement that he had been cast in it or was like in talks to do it. This was years ago though, but wow, that's way more than I realized. Goodness.
Yeah, I thought there was maybe like 3 or 4, but that was like, what the hell? There's like 10 of them.
There's like 5 actors out there that just exist in perpetuity in all of these fandoms that just pop up every now and then.
No, it's great.
Yeah, the one that surprised me was Anthony Daniels. I was like, since when?
Now,
Yeah.
I didn't know he had any association with
have
that.
you? No, but have you seen the 78 animated version?
I have not.
It's
An acid trip?
yes, very much. I feel like if you watch
A fever
that,
dream?
yes, it's just so good, but it's so bad it makes it good. You know what I mean?
It's like, do I have to do a drinking game while watching this? Like, what are we doing here?
Probably
could.
help if I'm being honest.
Yes,
It
it's
would probably help a lot.
and it only covers Fellowship. So it's called Lord of the Rings, but it only covers Fellowship.
It's a long Bakshi was there's a whole thing. I can go into it if you want, but like honestly, actually, you know what? I'll do that the next time I'm on. Watch this fever dream of an adaptation. There's also an animated of The Hobbit. Just
the Hobbit one is not bad.
Have you seen though the Soviet era staged play televised production of The Lord of the Rings? The Fellowship of the Ring.
I've heard of it.
Like
I've heard of it.
Pod One stream is waiting to happen, where we just watch this.
I have done it. I have done a watch party twice on my Twitch channel. Let me tell you, gentlemen, if you've ever wanted to feel what it is like to live in a Soviet era theater production, trying to capture the magic of Lord of the Rings, having already seen Peter Jackson, if you thought you were on drugs before, you haven't seen anything. Haven't seen anything. And I did these sober.
I think I remember watching one. I think I was in one of those watch parties on Twitch, and I'm just like,
oh, that's right. Yeah, it's a lot.
We've dove into a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff, but before we branched onto different franchises, we were mainly a Star Wars podcast. So I heard you mentioning Star Wars a little bit. I heard Luke mentioning Star Wars a little bit. I want to have you rank all the Star Wars.
Oh my God!
This is where we go, and that's it for the
it's
episode.
just the films,
oh,
the shows,
God. All right.
It's-
No,
it's
and
Oh,
this
all
is
like-
hang
just
on. Wait a minute. I can do.
and
Hang
this
on.
is just Dawn. This is just Dawn. Nobody else can do anything. It's just
Everyone-
Dawn.
Dawn.
Everyone back the hell off.
Okay. Okay.
Don, I want to hear what your ranking of the films and the shows are. So the first we have is The Phantom Menace. Where would you rank episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
Are you gonna put
D tier. Let me cook. Let me
Yeah,
cook.
I'm
So,
letting you
so if the
cook.
holiday special was on here,
If the holiday special was on here, I might have had, because it's relative, right? It's a spectrum of good and bad. S tier is Andor and Empire Strikes Back.
respectable.
All
I
right.
like that.
The Visions, I will also put in S tier, with the caveat being that I am a sucker for new mediums exploring other franchises.
Agreed.
I will put A New Hope in A tier.
New Hope A tier.
Mhm.
Okay.
New Hope is A tier. I will put The Mandalorian in A tier.
Okay.
I will put Boba Fett C.
Okay. That's fair.
And I will put, personally for me, Obi-Wan B.
A man with taste.
Obi-Wan over
a
Boba
man
Fett, okay.
with taste.
I will put, I'm going to save all of my hot takes for the end so we can really get into it. Give me Bad Batch on C tier, but it's a high C. I want to be very clear. It's a high C.
Yeah, like the juice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, I see what you did there.
Mhm, yes.
Give me the Clone Wars in B tier.
Okay, the show
The
Clone Wars, not the
new-
film.
No, the film Clone Wars, I will put in D tier. Full disclosure. It's fine
Okay.
for what it is. I'm glad it kicked off the way it did. Not
Hold up. We're missing Rebels. The best one.
Oh, we are missing Rebels in this.
Fake
Can
list.
we add it, or do we need to?
Well,
we need to add it.
We'll use Resistance as Rebels.
Okay, fair,
Oh, that.
fair.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we?
Resistance will be so.
Where are we putting Rebels?
We'll treat it like a copy in Magic. We'll use that.
Okay, cool. I will put Rebels in C tier.
Okay.
Wow, the prequels and the sequels are all still on the board. This is
Yeah.
interesting.
Prequels, give me Revenge of the Sith C, Attack of the Clones F, Return of the Jedi B.
Okay. That's
Okay.
not too bad.
Okay.
That's not too much of a stretch for me, honestly.
Okay. Give me Ahsoka B.
Ahsoka B.
Okay.
What is the Jedi one on the right?
Tales of the Jedi.
That is Tales of the Jedi.
Have you not seen that
Tales
one?
of the Jedi. I have not actually. Give me The Rise of Skywalker B tier.
B tier.
A
Okay.
tier?
Ooh.
Interesting.
Okay, now you ready for this? Because I'm gonna probably throw you with these last three.
All right.
Give me The Force Awakens A tier.
Hell yeah! Let's go, Don.
Give me The Last Jedi as C tier,
So on the same as Revenge of the Sith. Okay.
and please put Solo in S tier.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Said what I said.
Whoa.
I said what I said.
Oh.
I said what I said.
Really?
Solo is a
Damn.
great movie, and you all are just really, really mean. That could have been a really awesome trilogy.
I agree.
That could have been one of the most fun ways to bring back live action Darth Maul and have some cool lightsaber battles to flesh out a story nobody actually needed to care about, but that we got invested in because it was fun. And you killed the fun.
Wow.
Oh my god.
So
There's my hot take. There's my hot take. Solo should be S tier.
So Solo at S tier. That is interesting.
Also, we're missing
Yeah.
Rogue One as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Rogue
that's S
One.
tier as well. That's S tier as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll treat Tales of the Jedi as Rogue One.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Fair.
So this is Rogue One.
So when we
Yep.
And
make the graphic that we're gonna
um,
put out on all of our social medias and tag Dawn at,
Publish
I will-
it. Publish
I will
it. You
just-
don't
I'll
scare
just
me.
recreate it. I'll just have to.
You don't
recreate
scare me.
from
because
scratch.
we're going to, and it's gonna be great. And I love it.
Luke, I have been brigaded so
Oh,
much
that's
by
right.
trolls to the point where my
That's
account
right.
was deleted for
That's-
4 hours.
That's right. I forgot about
I can
that.
handle this.
Yes, you can.
I can handle
Yeah.
this.
Yes,
Bring
you
it
can.
on. The
Yes,
Star
you
Wars
can.
community doesn't scare me.
You've been through Rings
It
of
does,
Power
but, like,
posters.
I can handle this.
So for this list,
Yeah,
so
okay,
the
yes,
ones
please.
that I
Let's-
like
yeah.
agree on. Andor, I agree
Agreed.
with. It should be
Mhm.
S tier.
Mm-hmm.
Empire Strikes Back, no brainer. S
Mhm.
tier. Visions, that's interesting because Visions is not canon,
No,
So
but
like I kind
to
of like
me, it is a question of if someone were giving me options to watch a Star Wars thing with them that they had never seen before,
okay.
I will go with one of those 5
Yeah.
as not necessarily an introductory, but that feels like the most fun to watch.
Okay. Solo. That is
I
interesting.
love
It's a fun movie.
I love that because I
It's
personally
fun.
don't and we've heard
Go
this
ahead.
story.
No, go ahead.
We've
Go
heard this
ahead.
story before. Me and my cousin went into that movie. We had eaten an edible. I started out with them getting to Chewbacca, passing the fuck out, not seeing half of the movie, waking up to them doing the Kessel Run, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it. Okay? That's all I'm going to say to that. I literally woke up and they
Tales of
were
the
in
Jedi?
lightsaber.
Well,
Like,
not
it was
Jedi,
wild. That's Rogue One.
It
Rogue
was.
One.
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Mhm.
I would me personally wouldn't put it S tier.
Mhm.
I'm for me I put it B tier. But Rogue One for you, I mean, that's how I
For
feel like a lot of
me,
people. Rogue One, like it's really like you love it or you kind of like it.
And
yeah, it can be
There's
very
there's no one that
polarizing.
really hates Rogue One.
It was very
no one that
brave
hates
for
it.
what it did in that, oh, this is within the universe we're trying to do it, but it wasn't so far away that, we're, oh my God, High Republic. Like, no, I like that. Spoilers for Rogue One if you haven't seen it on your 108 episodes so far. Rogue One, I like that everybody died. I think Star
Agreed.
Wars is so much we have to keep them alive. We have to sell action figures. We can't kill anyone. I'm glad that they had the chutzpah to.
It's the you're not in the original trilogy effect.
Yeah. And I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. No, I agree with all of your takes, to be honest. I think yours
Thank you. Thank you.
ours are very similar. I would put Obi-Wan in S tier because that's just how I am. But
I
putting
think
it
Obi-Wan was
but putting it above
ahead.
Boba Fett
Putting it what?
putting it above Boba Fett solidifies my argument against Char, because Char thinks
Shut
that
up, Luke.
Boba Fett
Shut up.
is an S
Shut up.
tier.
It's
It's not.
if I
S
may,
Luke and I
if I may.
have beef between Obi-Wan and Boba Fett.
Okay.
Obi-Wan's
Here's what I will say. Obi-Wan is a more narratively driven story, and Boba Fett has an episode of The Mandalorian in it. So it was a little bit more narrative.
Maybe two episodes.
Maybe 2. Who even knows? It's
arguably
mixed.
2.
It's a little bit mixed, just like me. There's a little bit more of the there's a little bit more narrative cohesion, which is typically why I rank. I'm a sucker for a good story. That being said, I enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. I think you can do a lot with that character. I think people have been waiting for him to have his moment. And the fact that he wasn't like, I'm going to go destroy everything, and instead becomes a hermit for a while, disappointed a lot of people, but that's Star Wars these days, isn't it?
What Star Wars expectations not being what people wanted?
Oh
No.
God! Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that.
It's almost like
we-
The Last Jedi. It's right there, and it fits exactly in that category.
Anyway,
Yeah.
But
anyway.
so those are my hot takes for the day.
I
That
love
is-
I
New Hope
love it.
good.
I love it.
Mandalorian, I agree.
I love that.
Force Awakens, that's Hereth's thing. That's not really my thing.
I'm yeah.
Obi-Wan, all right. Clone Wars, okay.
All right, Char. We don't have time to go through the whole goddamn list.
Clone Wars is such a mixed bag for me, though, just because there are so many great arcs,
Moments,
and
yeah.
there are also a decent amount of not great arcs.
No,
that
agreed.
just
Agreed.
So
kinda
I
gotta-
want to, like, before we close out,
Yeah,
eventually, I
please.
want to, the elephant in the room, Revenge of the Sith, that's C tier.
All
I
right,
mean, honestly, like, it's not my favorite, but like,
it's
I think Luke is owed an explanation.
I mean, I not everybody loves it. It has its flaws. It should have been a 3-hour movie. That's what would have made it an A tier, S tier movie. No, I'm not even kidding.
No, I agree with you that Revenge of the Sith is a C-tier movie. Are you judging it by itself on the merit of the movie by itself, or are you judging it with everything mixed in as well?
It's so the nature of having a tier list means that we are comparing various things to other things. I think in terms of skill level and execution in a movie, it doesn't rely on the other prequel movies as much. You could take away Phantom Menace and you can take away Attack of the Clones and still enjoy Revenge of the Sith. That being said, I think when it comes to Star Wars content. It's higher up than some things. It's also lower than some things. It's kind of that weird middle area of, oh, hey, you're watching Revenge of the Sith. There's 30 minutes left. I will absolutely finish this with you. But I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way to be like, we're watching Revenge of the Sith.
That's Luke.
It's
That's
my
Luke.
favorite movie.
That's
And
Luke.
again, totally fair if it is. Totally fair if it is. For me, I
get it.
think I would much rather watch One Way Out. Just that episode.
Yeah, agreed.
4 times over and over.
Oh,
again.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the prison arc is just it's goated.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so good.
No,
So
yeah.
good.
But I
Yeah,
think that's
no.
a good stopping point. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Don. I have
Thank you.
so many ideas. Right now, one question. We get a Rings of Power
Shoot.
season 2 trailer. You come on
Mhm.
and we talk about theories.
Deal. Text me.
That was the most powerful invisible handshake I've ever seen.
Thank you so much for having me, Pod One's podcast. Thank you for listening. I have been Don Marshall, the obscure Lord of the Rings facts guy. Find me on all social medias as Donmarshall72. Just make another solo movie, please. That's all I want. That's really all I want.
Hereth.
Well, you can
Where
find me
can
at
the
Hereth
people-
Productions on TikTok and Instagram. Hereth_edits on Twitter, I guess. And of course, you can
You
find me.
guess? Do you not remember?
No, I do. No, I'm saying because Twitter.
It's a running bit. It's a
Oh,
running
'cause it's
bit.
not a
It's
thing anymore,
It's
yeah.
a running bit.
Okay.
Char, where can
Good.
the good people follow you on the social medias?
Good people, you can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at CharCharJ as spelled right here. And you can find me here at the Podwans Podcast every Thursday night.
You can follow me at Jedi Master Eggs on all social medias. And you can follow us at the Pod Ones Podcast on some social medias, but most of the time it's the Pod Ones. But that's gonna be it. We'll see you next time. May the Force be with you. Always.